Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the Rooted Asian American Youth Ministry Roundtable. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Huey, and I get to be your host today. We are talking about mentoring boys to men in Asian American Youth Ministry. And I am joined by two good friends, colleagues, and pastors who have been in the trenches of Asian American Youth Ministry for years and years. They have seen many boys grow up into young men under their pastoral care and oversight, which is a testament to God's grace and faithfulness in and through their lives. So brothers, before we begin, I just want to acknowledge and remind us what a privilege we've had over the years as youth pastors to shape the lives of young men with our position and platform with the gospel, and to have done it for so long. What an amazing privilege. And I hope this is something that none of us take for granted, honestly, right? So with that said, let me ask these friends to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their current ministry context. So Terrence, let me go to you first.
Hello, everyone. I am the family pastor at First Chinese Baptist Church of Walnut here in La La Land, and I've been here now 9+ years. So many ways, I feel like I'm just getting started in so many of these things. I work in collaboration with the youth pastor, with children's director, and connecting various language congregations to really promote intergenerational disciple making. So when you're talking about mentoring, boys to men, this is something that is really important to me. I myself am a dad of two boys, and they bookend the teenage years. So one is now out of his teenage years, and one is about to enter his teenage years. And so this is a season that I'm definitely committed to and interested and wanting to learn more, but also to grow more in.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Terrence.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin. I'm here in Houston, Texas. I've been in student ministry since 2000. I've had the privilege of working with young boys and men in Houston, Arlington, Texas, and then Atlanta, Georgia. And so I had the privilege of kind of seeing the differences in around this country. I have two daughters, and so this topic is extremely important to me.
Yes, it is.
Oh man, for
Yes,
sure.
sir.
It's like that scene out of Bad Boys. And so
Yeah, you're in Texas, so you guys are all armed. So
that's right, man.
very important.
Again, so we'll get into this in this episode of like, hey, who is qualified to date my girls when they're ready?
Oh yeah.
So let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, in light of that, Justin, I have 4 boys, so
Nah, it'll be a while, bro. Oh wait, your kids are young, right?
I have 2 who are teenagers, 12 and soon to be 13 and 15, and I have 2 that are in like 9 and 7. So
Okay.
yeah,
We'll see.
That's a solid lineup right there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I'm gonna pay a close attention to what Justin's gonna say.
Heck,
Exactly.
let's do this.
All right. So guys, you've been in the trenches for many years. You've seen teenage boys grow up into young men. So in your current ministry context, or just in the last few years, give us a general profile of an Asian American youth teenager, like a boy teenager. Like talk about their characteristics, their temperament, interests, desires. Just give us a general profile of who we're kind of talking about.
All right, so I'll start. So I did most of my youth ministry experience here in Houston at one church. We were in a suburby-ish middle to upper class area, and so a lot of the boys that were coming in pretty, I'd say, studious. Is that the nice word? They were studious, and whether that was on them or their parents, I mean, that's just kind of that was kind of the mold. Most of them were gamers to some extent. I had a season where we had a lot of athletes, and then we had seasons where no one knew how to have any type of hand-eye coordination. And so, yeah, we just had a lot of that. We had to build out the culture with our boys. And so early on, it was like you can see a visible split in the room between guys and girls. And so they
Mm.
did not care or have a desire to cross that aisle. But later on, I mean, we kind of changed that culture. So that's typically our boys. A lot of social skills developments needed at the beginning part of their journey.
Mhm. Okay. Terrence?
Yeah, I mean, quite a few of the boys are kids that grew up in the church. So the parents have been here for a while. Maybe, they're the second or third siblings. So they've been raised with a particular group of friends. And for many of them, they're pretty close to each other. So, I mean, that doesn't mean that they feel like super tight always. And maybe they don't even emotionally discern what that means, but they're used to running with each other, being in the same Sunday school classes, being in the same small groups, going up through Awana, that kind of stuff. And so they're kind of used to each other, and there's probably a running culture in many ways of what church looks like.
Mm.
But I'm also seeing that for a lot of these boys as they're growing up, is eventually they start asking some questions about their faith, but they don't fully understand the depth and what it looks like to transition from growing up in the church to actually taking ownership of their own faith. And sometimes then, as they're maturing, they struggle with that. They struggle to take ownership of what it means to actually be Christian. And at least in my church, I feel like it's not until like later in high school or even sometimes in college when being a Christian means enough for them to actually do something about it and not be content about just growing up through the culture. So that's some of the stuff that we see. But I mean, if you're looking from the outside, maybe you could describe them as, they're generally like they're good boys, right? They behave kind of, they're generally okay and respectful. But whether they're following Christ, whether they're taking into consideration what it really means to trust him and to live for him, it's a work in progress.
Well, let me throw in this question. Is there anything about an Asian American boy right now that kind of drive you crazy? Like drive you
I don't
through.
know if it's Asian American, man. I think that's just
Just boys in general.
just boys in general.
I mean, okay, I'll give you mine, right?
Yeah.
Um, when it- what I feel like they don't know how to make eye contact. Like that drives me nuts. And when you go to shake their hands, it's so flimsy.
Yeah, they don't know how to do that well.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but that like drives me
I
nuts.
got one.
Okay.
When the boys think that LeBron James is the GOAT, that will
And from an LA guy who, obviously I appreciate LeBron. Yeah, it's hard to call him the GOAT. Can't do it.
I mean, I might have to get church discipline on my reactions sometimes, but
Oh no, I
I
get
mean,
it, man.
yeah, that to me, I'm like either I failed as a discipler in this season, or they're just like completely like they just need some straightening up. No, I
I
mean,
think.
sorry, I had a real answer, but you go first, Terrence.
Oh no, I was gonna say. I mean, just maybe the inability sometimes to like concentrate and focus. Kind of pay attention. And I don't think that's just an Asian American thing too. I feel like especially coming out of the pandemic, this generation. I mean, they've inherited so much of this in terms of like their circumstances that they've not been trained or disciplined in many ways, devices, social media, and everything else. But yeah, definitely that makes it hard sometimes.
But like that they're on social media, right? I mean, like all the time. My thing, and I don't know if it's usually the guys, not the girls,
Mm.
but I know that they're posting or playing, and I'll like send them a text or I'll like, hey, can you respond to me here or what? Just send me something, and they'll just like not respond to you for
Goes to
yeah.
unread, unread.
But I'm like, I know you have your phone on you. Like I'm literally like watching you like turn it off. And so
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, maybe that's an age thing or Asian thing. I don't know. I'm still
Yeah.
the jury's still out of that.
Yeah. And just so our listeners are not like getting mad at us because we're like picking on boys, but hey, we've been in youth ministry for a long time, so we're invested. So
Yeah, for sure.
we're talking.
And we love these guys. So
Yeah.
this is not even a complaint against them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um, so we did a few episodes on mentoring in the Asian American Youth Ministry a few months ago, but today we want to talk specifically about mentoring boys to young men. So briefly, just define for our listeners what mentoring means to you, And what do you notice are some unique challenges that our boys face today that makes mentoring maybe challenging and difficult? So Terrence, let me go to you first.
Yeah, I mean, mentoring is about building relationships with specific people. So, like, if you have like one boy in mind, then it's really taking the time to get to know him, to invest in him with your time, with your resources, and just being available, so that there's the possibility that there's truth and wisdom being passed from your life and from your lips and from your actions into his. I mean, so that's not tall order. That's not easy at all because we have constraints as it relates to our time, our capacity, ministry, workload, everything else. But I mean, to do mentoring well, especially with boys, I've just been able to see that, man, the guys, they need that focus. And so if you're going to commit to mentoring, it's going to take some cost counting in terms of what you think you handle and how you equip others to do that with you.
Yeah. I think the challenge with mentoring and discipling boys in particular, I think it's a couple of things that we have to think through, especially in the Asian American church. Number one is where their parents are coming from,
Mm,
right? I think recently there was just kind of a large group of parents that kind of immigrated over, or they just showed up, and like it's all school, it's all resume building, but the social skills are completely, subpar. That's not even there. And so I think that's hard because we're not only responsible for teaching them the gospel doctrine, group dynamics, but now we're also trying to, again, respond to things, just social skills, right? And I think the modern youth ministry in churches, that's a lot of it, especially in the Asian American context. It's
mhm.
training in social skills and even just basic life skill stuff too, because either the parents are working too much or they're just so tired that a lot of times that's not even on the forefront of their minds. And so, which is also a privilege because you can utilize the church to help students, especially boys, develop that piece. Um, Another thing is learning when and how far to do that push pull um, dynamic, kind of as the pastor or as the minister. When does it like, hey, I need to kind of encourage the saints. Hey, sometimes tough love. Sometimes, hey, let's get going. And sometimes when to listen. I think it's
Mhm.
very much like parenting. You can't
Yeah.
just. It's always the stick. Sometimes it's the carrot. Like you just. At what point when does the spirit let us know when to do certain things? When do we do it in public and when do we do it in private? Because certain guys are more prone to one way or the other. And so when you have a group of guys, then you have to be very discerning on how to do this because embarrassment might come into play, gentleness, but also firmness. I think that's very unique within probably an Asian American context.
We are thrilled to announce Rooted's new book with New Growth Press, The Jesus I Wish I Knew in High School, Asian American Edition. Being a teenager is itself an overwhelming experience, but the struggles unique to Asian American teenagers can often lead them to wonder if anyone truly knows what they're going through. In this book, 12 authors come alongside Asian American students to share their own high school experiences, helping students to see how Jesus makes a difference in our unique struggles. Jesus sees them and knows them fully. These testimonies of growing up Asian American include struggles with belonging, performance pressure, fear of failure, living in an honor shame culture, eating disorders, sexual assault, and adoption. The writers now walk faithfully with Jesus in their ethnic and cultural distinctions. These stories lift up the Asian American experience with dignity, offering representation and belonging. We hope you'll read this book and share it with the Asian American teenagers in your home or church.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely goes beyond teaching, which I feel like a lot of times in Asian American context, that's what we think mentoring is, or that's what we think intergenerational relationships look like, is you have someone older that like tells to some person that's younger, hey, here's what you do, here's what the Bible says, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. It's more than that. I think it's earning a place at the table in their lives based on just your, willingness to get to know them, to get to their level, to ask questions, to be able to then encourage and build them up in a way that God is working through you. And that's what actually makes it hard sometimes, because then you're going to experience all the heartaches that goes with that. You're going to experience the frustrations that goes with, when people maybe outwardly don't disobey, but really they don't get it. And so, you're kind of going back and forth with them and their hearts and their struggles. Mentoring is really a life to life relationship.
You know what's hard though in ministry? I don't know about the two of you guys. We were never taught how to do this.
Oh, for sure.
No. Again, had I not been a parent, I don't think I would even have the framework to understand how to think through this in this manner, right? I think it's okay. Hey, they mess up. It's automatically let's immediate discipline. Like there's no kind of, hey, how do I judge this scenario versus this? It's a lot of trial and error. And so I would just say, man, please have patience for the youth minister or maybe some coaching on just how do we do basic mentoring. I think that was really difficult. And
And
saying,
and even for like youth workers, right? And I mean, and this is just I've kind of come to this resolve after a while is I realize I can't keep on using that excuse that I was never mentored
yeah, yeah,
and just kind of hide behind that. Like you said, is trial and error. You got to kind of jump in here and figure it out for my own soul and for the soul of the next generation. You just kind of have to kind of figure it out as you go.
yeah,
So that whole patience, and I think that's so important, right?
yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to have thick skin too when you talk about mentoring boys in particular. Sometimes girls are just like softer around the edges in terms of how they interact with you. And this is not to stereotype all girls, but sometimes boys, like, when they don't get something or when they're not paying attention, or they're like completely aloof and playing video games, where you actually have to just, in that sense, kind of suck it up and be like, I'm still gonna be in your life, even if it doesn't seem like you're responding or you're understanding, or it might not seem like it's paying off, but I'm going to continue to walk this journey with you. And that's actually where a lot of times, and again, not to stereotype, all boys, but I found that working with boys, when you do stuff together, that really supplements, if not actually frames anything you want to teach them or pass on to them so much more effectively. It's not only didactic classroom, because they could tune you out, but it's actually you're doing stuff together, whether it's you're serving together, you're playing together, hanging out, grabbing a meal, a car ride, those are all great, like for life to life conversations and experiences.
And if we can give you guys a hack, I think if you develop that early on in middle school, I think
Mhm.
you have a greater chance in high school with the same guys to take your discipleship way further and faster than if you just started in high school. I think by middle school, you've developed a trust. And again, teaching through the life experiences more so than the classroom, right? Although that's important, but to teach them, go, hey, this is just what a Christian man looks like in the world, right? This is how we open doors. This is how we pray. This is how we forgive. Because they may or not have that, may or might not have that model at home or in the schools or anywhere else. And the only way they can see that modeled is if the older guys or the older leaders who are men, who are like, hey, let me show you how to do it imperfectly, but let me show you how to do it faithfully,
Mhm.
right? And they have someone to be like, okay, I think that's who I want to model myself after, whether they articulate that or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I love that you're going there. And I mean, let's talk to kind of our youth workers and youth pastors in Asian American context specifically. Um, we believe that mentoring is highly relational. It's this life on life picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how would you, encourage kind of youth pastors and youth leaders who are thinking about ministry as a whole to make that life on life relational aspect of mentoring like think about it systematically,
Yeah.
right? Oh, and
Yeah.
how have you guys have done it? Terrence, you're kind of doing family ministry, and I'm sure you're doing a lot of that. So what are some practical ways that our youth workers and youth pastors can intentionally mentor boys to young men and to help them think about it, yes, informally and spontaneously, but also more formally and systematically? Any encouragements?
Yeah, I mean, on my end, I'll start with this and then let Justin take over. I mean, you got to recognize if you're in that youth pastor, youth minister role, you can't do it all. It's pretty much impossible. I mean, if you have like a youth group of 3, maybe, but generally maybe the group is larger. So you have to already plan that you need other youth counselors and leaders who are able to work with you and committed to the same endeavor of mentoring the boys. So then you break it up formal and informal. You have your formal meetings, which then you need people, to be working with the boys. But then you also have your informal hangouts, meals, where you're playing together, that kind of thing. And maybe there's room for, people that are more event oriented or just, more occasional volunteers to come alongside. But you need a team. You can't do it yourself. Otherwise, it won't get done.
Mm-hmm. So I think for us, we had 2. I mean, I'll do more practical. The first one was always around February. We did a Girls Appreciation Day. Easy. I mean, everyone knows kind of the purpose, but we use that as a training ground for the guys. How do we talk? How do we prep? How do we plan? And the easiest lesson was, hey, we're going to create this meal and this experience for the girls. And the first thing that all the guys said was, what about us? Right. And that's when the discipleship comes in, was like, hey guys, like, and again, a lot of the younger ones were the ones asking it, but this is when the patience of the older guys who got it first and the leaders to step in to be like, okay, this is how we serve. This is the purpose behind why we do what we do. And specifically as guys, as a group of guys, right? And so that actually turned out to be one of their highlights of the year, believe it or not. It was the Girls Appreciation. And it's not because, again, it was anything romantically, right? Or like, ooh, we got to interact with the girls. But it was because the guys were able to kind of work together and they understood the purpose. That was good. Summer months, we typically kind of cut down on programming, and we actually brought in a lot of the older guys in the church, older men, and they would do practical life skill stuff. And it's specifically and especially beneficial to the boys because we did stuff like auto mechanics. We did stuff like kitchen and cookware prep and stuff. And so it was a lot of hands-on stuff, to where what we said before, it's, oh, I see another dad or as a man or a mechanic, and this is how you do things practically, but this is the gospel lesson behind why we do what we do.
Mhm.
And it always was like, okay, I'm gonna give you the skills and the tools to do this yourself, but also to serve other people. But this is the reason why we do what we do. And so they had, again, once they graduated, they remembered, oh yeah, hey, if I got an issue with this, I'm gonna go to that guy because they showed me how to do it. And so that was kind of a long-term plan in terms of guy to guy discipleship that involved the whole church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how hands-on that is. Like you're literally through these events and through these occasions teaching them, how to be men and how to treat other people and how to serve together. That's great.
Yeah.
We are so excited to share that we have a new opportunity for folks working in family ministry. The Rooted Family Ministry Mentorship Program. It provides both small group and individual coaching for volunteers, youth pastors, or associate pastors who oversee family ministry in their church context. This 12-month program includes small groups of 6 to 8 led by one mentor in both a cohort and an individual setting through a carefully crafted curriculum designed to help you grow spiritually as an individual and as a leader in your congregation. At the end of the program, we expect you'll be prepared to equip the volunteers and parents in your congregation to disciple the next generation to know and love Jesus. Additionally, when you complete the program, you'll receive a Rooted Family Ministry certificate to affirm your commitment to join God in the work He is doing in the lives of the families you serve.
I mean, talking about just kind of getting the wider church involved, what encouragement would you give to anyone who are in their like mid to late 20s, early 30s, early to mid 30s, young men? Why should they get involved with in youth ministry, and it's particularly ministering to boys, you know? What would you say?
I'm saying you got all the time in the world right now. Probably, right? I'm like, hey, you probably got your first job, if not second one, maybe. You're making a little bit of cash, and maybe you're not married yet, but man, don't waste your singleness and don't waste your time. Steward it. I mean, that's the whole point of, why we're here. Steward your time, steward your energy. And I think that's the key. Like, you got more energy than the rest of us. And so steward that well, especially with these guys. And I'm like, and I keep telling the older guys in the church, I'm like, hey, you don't need to know their language. Please actually don't do that for everyone's sake.
They'll try to be
But
cool.
yeah, but I'm like, hey, can you text them and tell them that you're praying for them? Sure. Can you sponsor one of their meals? Yeah. So I'm like, it's not really that hard. It's just intentional. But like, hey, like, you don't need to be spending $1 billion on yourself this year. Maybe like, hey, invest in something that's gonna be invaluable, right? This mentoring thing. And so that's just basic stuff. I think it's training the older 20 something, 30 somethings to step in.
Yeah. No.
Dude, like I'm totally vibing with that. Like right now, as we speak, I'm actively thinking about and recruiting the next group of youth counselors for my own son, right? Because he's coming in 7th grade next year. So I would add to that, it's totally worth it. There is something about an older man, and you're not old if you're a young adult, whatever, but you're an older man, like if you commit and really connect with these boys, like they'll love you forever. Like there's something very special about an intergenerational guy friendship and a guy relationship. I think God wired us that way. Like we want to look towards somebody to be able to imitate and to learn from, but maybe we don't have the words or the maturity to articulate what it is that we're looking for, but we yearn for it. And so if you're able to come alongside and invest in a few, young boys and see them, become more mature and as men, especially in the Lord, I mean, that's going to be worth your while. It's going to prepare you for your, future marriage and career. If the Lord leads you in certain directions, it's going to help you, to grow as a leader as well. And as men, we're called to be servant leaders in the church. And so this is really going to be something that grounds and anchors you as a Christian to be a disciple maker. So totally worth it.
Yeah.
And I'd say something similar to like these boys need you.
Yeah.
And I say that because when I talk to young adults in their 20s and 30s and talk about youth ministry, I think the response I get often is, I don't feel ready or I don't feel qualified. And to be honest, none of us felt ready and qualified when we were in our 20s, 30s, right?
Yep.
But it's this, the mentoring is this picture of, follow me as I follow Christ, as Paul says, right? And so we're just asking you to follow Jesus with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and just ask other younger brothers to follow along with you in that journey. And it can be something as it's not basic, but something as simple and profound, just as that. And our boys, like you said, Terrence, they're worth it. They need it, you know. So yeah, that would kind of be my encouragement.
Can I
Someone's got to tell them about Kobe, man. Someone's got to tell them about Kobe. It could be you. It could be you.
But like, so I think a practical thing though is, I mean, all guys want to have a purpose, right? A legacy. I mean, that's how God has created a lot of us, right? And so, but my thing is like, hey, again, like you said, you don't need to have the whole handbook done. You just need to put what you're learning back down into practice to somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's really what it is. And again, like, you don't know your stuff until you're able to teach it to someone younger. I think that's the key. Like, you don't really know your doctrine as well as you think you do unless you can contextualize it downward. And so, I mean, I think that's just what it looks like. But I'm just going, if you can't give up a season to mentor or whatever, I would challenge you guys who are listening, right? Or your churches. pray for one middle schooler boy and pray for one high school boy. That's it, right? Like maybe, and again,
That's
and
good.
all you do is you put that person on your heart. And look, you can still do your small group and your whatever, but be the advocate for that one kid. I guarantee you the Lord is going to start changing your heart to be like, hey, I wonder how they're doing. I wonder if they need help getting ready for prom. I wonder if they need help filling out a job application. Like you become somebody to step in the gap. And I'm like, you want purpose, right? Like you want to be an influencer. How much easier is it? It's already built into the system of the church. Like
Yeah.
there's a million of them. I'm like, you love stories like that. So why not jump in, you know? Like I think
Yeah.
it's so easy and sometimes it's so hard.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's good. Hey, as we close, I want to give both of you just kind of a final thought question. And this time I want you to speak to an Asian American, like talk to Asian American boys. I don't know if they'll be listening to this or not. Maybe the youth leaders that listen will share it. But I mean, you guys have been in youth ministry for a long time, and around students constantly. Um, give just a word of encouragement to our younger brothers. What would you want to say?
I'm going to say, young man, right? You're loved, right? You are loved. And maybe you don't hear that enough, but you're loved. You're loved by God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, right? And you're worth it. And you don't need to get to a certain place in order to believe that. So that's the whole point of our gospel. And so, man, believe that so you don't believe in these silly little lies that the world or even yourself, you tell yourself. And so, like, hey, you are where you're at, exactly where the Lord has you, but you need to live into that, right? And so some of you guys, y'all need to grow up because you're still trying to play these stupid games. And think about this, in your church, there's a lot younger kids than you that they need your help and your expertise. And so, man, I know you can want to do stuff for yourself and you can, but man, so many people need you right now, right? Whether you're 12 or 16 or 18, they need you to step in now, not wait till you're 20, 30, 40 something, like now. So, but realize you don't have all the answers. And so lean into your pastors and leaders. But we need you in the game now, not later, but right now.
Yeah, it's good.
Man, wise words from a dad of 2 daughters, man. Get in the game,
Like,
boys.
better get in the game.
Get in the game, dude.
Yeah.
I would add to that just really having your identity being shaped by Christ above all things, because things really come and go, trends come and go. Some people will love you in different seasons of your life, and they'll turn the other way in other seasons of your life. So ultimately, live for purpose, live for why God made you, and grow to know and to love him, because that will carry you for the rest of your life. And that's what we're here for, as a local church, to be a spiritual family for you. You're not in this alone. There are, older men and women who care about you, and, give us, if you're a little patient with us, we'll try to figure out how it is we could be in your life so that we could point you to Jesus and we could be a part of what God is doing.
Wow, so good. Thank you both so much. You guys are my heroes. Friends, thank you for listening today to the Rooted Asian American Youth Ministry Roundtable. We're so glad that you could join us, and we look forward to the next time that we can chat. Till then, may the Lord bless and keep you as we trust in the death and resurrection of Christ to transform our homes and our churches. Follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also find us on Instagram at The Rooted Ministry. Talk to you guys next time. Bye.
See you later.